What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic night. It is Texas A&M week, Ross. I mean, this is such a big game for the program, and in my opinion, there's no better way to start off this Tuesday without having a representative, a great resource to talk about this game and give Canes fans a little insight what to expect about this big game, 9 p.m. on ESPN, College Station. The Miami Hurricanes will take on the Texas A&M Aggies. Why don't you introduce our outstanding guest, Ross?
We have got with us the senior recruiting analyst from Texas Aggies, Jason Howell. This is a major independent source of information for Texas A&M fans.
Jason, welcome to the Scoop on the U.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Always appreciate it.
Jason, it's a pleasure to have you on. I know you've heard it enough, the headlines. App State takes care of business against Texas A&M at home in College Station. What's kind of the feel going into this game? Because for Miami Hurricanes fans, in my opinion, Florida State beat LSU. That's an SEC opponent. They're blue blood in college football, outstanding football program. Florida beat Utah. It's very nice to see them lose to Kentucky. But Utah was ranked top 10 in the nation. I feel like as Canes fans, there's a lot of pressure for two reasons. We have to be an SEC opponent. And plus, Texas A&M and Miami, they go after it in recruiting. They go after it with local recruits. And Jimbo was at Florida State previously, so he knows the Miami area. He knows South Florida. So in the sense of recruiting, in the sake of, where the program stands, for both, Texas A&M and Miami, this is a huge game the way I'm seeing it.
Absolutely. Like you said, these two go in head to head fairly often. And A&M, since Jimbo Fisher's been there in College Station, has made their presence felt in the Miami area. So, as a matter of fact, on Saturday night, I'm sure there will be a few Miami area prospects in town taking in the action. So this is a chance for A&M to, make a statement, especially coming off of last week. They lost to Appalachian State. Definitely a surprise, but this is a chance for A&M. It was already a big game, but this is a chance to recapture some of that momentum and take that next step, not only on the football field, but in the recruiting arena. This is a big recruiting weekend, and not only because of those Miami area kids, but just in general. So it's going to be electric atmosphere, and there's a lot at stake there.
What's the overall feel from the program? Hypothetically thinking, is Jimbo kind of like, I understand you guys have invested a lot of money into Jimbo Fisher, into the program. Is he on the hot seat, or is there pressure on him to win this football game against Miami?
I mean, when you're getting paid that much, there's always pressure to win. The expectation is to win. And after last week, it increases. So I wouldn't say he's on the hot seat. There's, like you said, there's tremendous investment, and he's locked in for a number of years. But got to do better than last week. And everybody knows that, including Jimbo Fisher.
Jason, we had a chance to talk briefly before we started the show here, and you'd mentioned that quarterback and offensive line play have been a weakness.
Yeah.
Do you believe that Jimbo and the staff that you guys currently have, I mean, is this a week-by-week thing where they can build and get stronger, or is this a genuine concern week by week where they might not build and get genuine? What's your take?
Well, you've got at quarterback, you do have some pieces there. You have Haynes King, who's won the job the last 2 years. Last year, he gets hurt in game number 2 very early, and then you have to go through the season with your number 2 quarterback. And then you welcome in Max Johnson from LSU, who has a lot of experience in NFL pedigree, and so he elevated the where the quarterback position was from last year. I've said going into the season, the quarterback position is in better hands than it was last year from a depth, and I think you just felt better about the position overall. Not only do you have Max Johnson, but you also have 5-star Connor Wigman back there as a freshman that just signed last or I guess December now. But it's Haynes was kind of given that opportunity to take those reins for the second year in a row, and really, I think there is a lot of feeling like, okay, we got to see something real soon. If not, you're probably going to see Max Johnson or even Wigman, get an opportunity. But I think overall, the feeling is there's better pieces to work with than maybe there were last year. And then on the offensive line front, you're replacing Kenyon Green, who was a first-round draft pick. But you've got some young guys. You got Ruben Fothery, who was a freshman All-American. Bryce Foster has been out the last 2 games. He's back practicing, so he may factor in. He was a freshman All-American at center, and you've got some guy. Layden Robinson's the guy that everybody's kind of projected to be an All-American. So you've got some pieces there, but you got to see it gel. And when you're talking about offensive line, having that familiarity and that communication piece is almost as important as, or just as important as, the actual physical gifts that the athletes have. So, you do have to have a cohesion there, and that doesn't always develop right off the bat. So but both of them need to pick it up. They've had trouble getting the offense moving, and it's going to be something that A&M fans are going to be watching real close.
Well, man, I'm all about the trenches. I mean, that's one thing about me, man, is just trenches. I love a power run game. I love a power offense aspect, even though we're in the era of, the spread offense. I still like to add a little bit of power to it and stuff. Watching the game, and like a run game or a runner like Cameron Peoples, like App State had, just a very physical runner with the added size on the App State offensive line. Do you believe that was kind of one of the catalysts there for them to really push forward and get a victory?
I mean, their ability to continue to pick up 3, 4, 5 yards a clip and get convert on third down, or they were going for it a lot on fourth down. So for them, just being able to get that push, I mean, that's a bit of a concern as well. But that's one thing A&M does have on that defensive front, and it's not just those guys they signed last year. They've got quite a few, and there's some youth there that's really starting to step up, and some guys that are coming back that I think we'll see on Saturday that should help provide some push there up front. But yeah, no doubt, Appalachian State was able to control the ball, and that run game was a big part of it.
Jason, for Miami fans, I mean, my perspective on Haynes King, like just my outside perspective as a college football fan, he's not moving the offense. He has a little bit of a factor ability with his legs. I love your wide receiver core. Number 0, I believe, Smith. I can't remember his name.
Anais Smith. Yeah.
I think he's a phenomenal player. Yoel Keith Brown from Miami Central, another great player. And it frustrates me as a fan of football to see a good receivers not being, fed appropriately, not having an appropriate quarterback. I'm not big on Haynes King as a fan of football. Do you think we see the switch with Johnson against Miami if it's not working out a couple drives?
It wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't, especially considering the first couple games. you got to figure it out, and you don't have a whole lot of opportunities. And against a team like Miami, if you start off slow, you may be staring at a little bit of a hole that you're trying to dig yourself out of. So you're going to have to try some things. So, it wouldn't surprise me one bit to see Johnson in there doing some work.
By the way, Johnson was a Miami Hurricanes commit at one point in his recruiting because Mark Richt is his uncle.
Yeah, man, that's going back way early in his commitment. In his recruitment, he was committed there to LSU for a while too. So before he actually signed, so that was. And he's a real talent. He's impressed. I think people talk about Haynes and his legs and what he can do there, and he's definitely considered one of the fastest guys on the team. But Max Johnson's no slouch as an athlete either. He's he brings a lot to the table. It shows some real escapability and things like that. So it wouldn't be surprising, to see him get a chance just for anything else other than to give a shot in the arm.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you mentioned, King's running ability because I honestly think to move the offense, maybe mobilize him more with his legs against Miami. We had a lot of trouble against, I believe, Bethune-Cookman's quarterback name is Jalen Jones, former quarterback at Florida who transferred in.
Yeah.
And just containing him when we applied pressure, he would just roll out of the pocket. And, he actually did some damage against Miami. I think running quarterbacks against Miami so far that I've seen can be very vital, specifically in this football game because King, I mean, he does have legs. My question for you, Jason, is, studying, being a part, covering Texas A&M for so long, how does Jimbo Fisher's football team respond after a tough loss going into the next week?
Well, I mean, typically they've done pretty well. I mean, let's look back to last season. I think fans had pretty much said, okay, after that Arkansas and Mississippi State stretch, everybody pretty much checked out and said, okay, well, I guess this is going to be it. And then they come back and they show up in a big way against Alabama. So they are very capable. Jimbo Fisher has the year of this team. But they're going to need that. They're going to need to respond in a big way because, Miami under Cristobal, I don't think anybody is counting them as a W. So you got to be ready to play.
One of the things that I, always look at when I'm studying defenses is linebackers, just because that's something that we've had such a problem with in Miami for so long. Just your general opinion, what did you see from your linebacker core week one? And did anything stand out positive, negative, and what could you look forward to maybe from the future from these guys?
Well, you got to look Edgerrin Cooper, Andre White, and Chris Russell. They're kind of right there in the middle for A&M. Edgerrin Cooper is bringing the most experience there and probably the most dynamic playmaker on that second level. And just more consistency and filling those holes. They do a good job of flowing to the ball, but you got to finish. And I think that's been a thing that you've seen from them. And then, just like anything else, man, those linebackers, everybody's looking to scheme them up in the passing game as well and get that mismatch. And at times, you see them take the bait and they're susceptible in the passing game. But if you're looking for the strengths of the defense, the D line and that secondary, those are going to be the things that kind of carry the day for A&M. With Edgerrin, it's kind of the main guy there in the middle, and you're looking for workman-like efforts from the others.
Now, of course, moving forward with development and stuff like that, do you guys feel on the defensive line that you are too deep and you'll be able to prove that sooner than later?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you'll see a rotation that's been pretty stout. They've done that the first few games. A lot of young guys, a lot of that 22 class have come in and found themselves in that rotation. You got Anthony Lucas, Shamar Stewart. You've got 5-star from last year, Shamar Turner. There's a ton of guys in there. I know LT Overton, who reclassified from 23 and signed in April, or he's already getting in the mix as well. So they are working a lot of those young guys in. Plus they've got some older guys. Tumise Adelier, who was an Ohio State commit before he signed with A&M. You've got Fidel Diggs, a number of guys. They bring depth. That's not something they lack there. They do lack a little bit of experience, but I think that at D line you can get away with a lack of experience, a little bit more than you can at some other positions.
Jason, App State, they controlled the time of possession heavily against Texas A&M. I firmly believe, and I know Canes fans are going to get a little bit annoyed by this because we think we're going to open up the playbook. I believe we're going to run heavy if we're rushing the ball efficiently against Texas A&M, because we
Absolutely.
have running backs. We're going to stick to that plan like App State did with Texas A&M to control time of possession. Where do you think Texas A&M needs to improve on? I know we talked about off quarterback was probably the main one, but any other specific areas you think they can improve on against Miami?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to get off the field when you have that opportunity on third down. Game 1 against Sam Houston, they were able to get off the field, and they pitched a shutout. Game 2 against App State, a team that scored 60 points the week before against North Carolina, that you lose. But this isn't a defensive. This one's not on the defense, in my opinion. So but you do have to get off the field, and that's one thing that running game allowed App State to do, was just keep those chains moving bit by bit, and so really. It's about shutting it down on third down, whether that's run or pass or whatever. And they know they can do it. We've seen it before. It's not I don't think there's a big scheme problem. I don't think there's a big talent issue. It's just a matter of getting it all on the same page.
No, I agree. I think your main issue, just my outside perspective, is quarterback play. I honestly think you guys, the pieces are there. It's just quarterback play primarily.
Well, and I think that's kind of where A&M fans are at. There's some pieces there. Even Haynes is a super talented guy. I don't want to put this all on Haynes or anybody else really, because this was a team effort, or lack thereof. But it's one of those things where you got to get better at that position, and right. That means he's got to recognize his potential a bit, or you got to see what else you got there. So that's kind of where things are at, and it's hey, we've seen it click before, and if it starts to roll, I don't have a single doubt that Haynes can get it done.
Any matchups or just position battles, for me personally, I think it's going to be, Texas A&M's wide receiver core versus our cornerbacks, which I think is fairly weak, in my opinion. Our linebacker core is still a question mark to me. You can play well against Southern Miss, but can you play well against an SEC opponent? What matchup battles are you looking for that you're into the game that you have a question mark around to see how Texas A&M pans out?
Well, I'm not necessarily looking at the nuts and bolts here of it, but I'm really excited to see that crystal ball offensive line go against that A&M defensive front. I think there could be some really exciting stuff there. That'll be fun viewing for everybody, and I think that's where like you're saying, Miami, if they can get that consistency in the ground game, you could see them just grind away based off that App State film. And so A&M's got to answer that bell. So there's some pressure on those guys to do that. And so I think it's going to be fun to watch those two units go head to head.
Jason, you being a recruiting guy, that's where I lean heavily as well. There's a couple of players, that we've spoke about that kind of overlapped in recruiting, from Miami and Texas A&M, and there were some big names, obviously. But I would just love to get your personal opinion on these players that you guys ended up winning these battles for. Anthony Lucas. What do you see in Anthony Lucas?
He is a quick twitch, just giant of a man. He came in the spring, and really from word go, his work ethic and his twitchiness on the edge, for as big as he is, just really jumped off the page. He was one of the standouts in the spring game, and he's got the physicality to anchor and kind of, against when that run's kind of coming at him, and he's got the ability to shed the block and get to the quarterback or get pressure in the backfield, whatever that means. So he can do it all at that defensive end position, and then he can roll inside a little bit, be that athletic three. He brings the entire package there, where he can bring a versatility to the defensive front.
We were fortunate enough to have him on for an interview, and man, I'll tell you what, when Miami wasn't in the top schools anymore, that one hit us in the gut, bro, because we just knew that was a special player. We could see the upside is just so clear and evident.
Absolutely. He hasn't disappointed either since he's reached campus. And since you bring it up, we're talking D lineman, I got to bring up Shamar Stewart. He's a guy. He didn't get there until June, but he's hit the ground running as well. Has really made his presence felt on that front line as well. It's gonna be fun to watch those guys grow and develop, and they're all, like I said, they're getting in the mix. They are, whether it's practice reports and everything, like we're hearing all about these young guys. They're making their presence felt.
What's the word on Amari Daniels? That was a player amongst Canes fans that was you were either glass full or glass half empty kind of thing. It was one of those. It was one of those scenarios pretty much. And half the fans liked him. The other half were kind of like, oh, I don't know, we can get something else. What has he been able to show you guys so far there? Because I know he's got some quickness, and I know he's got some nice footwork.
Exactly. You hit it right on the head, man. He is he brings that burst that's just rare to find. A&M has got Devon Achane, who's got world-class speed, not track speed, like 10 flat 100-meter speed. So he but Amari's right there. He's consistent. He's that guy that you'll see him in the backfield plenty. And he'll definitely find his way there in the rotation. He's made some big plays when he's got the opportunities, and really just a smooth runner with that quick burst. And I think he's not talked about enough. He was one of those guys, I think, probably outside of Miami and A&M, where when A&M was recruiting him, that people really buzzed about him in those areas, but he was a little slept on outside of that. And like you said, you might be a little polarized there, but man, he's a baller for sure. And his teammate Keith Brown's really turned it on. He had a big one against Sam Houston. He's a big play waiting to happen. We talk about Evan Stewart a lot as that big play threat. Keith is right there too. He's that guy who brings the versatility that can really do some dynamic things with the ball in his hand.
I'm glad you brought up Keith, man, because that was one of those guys, of course, I was pushing really hard for Miami, went a different direction. I can't be upset at the direction they went, of course, because, we added speed no matter what. But Keith was just a player that I felt, especially within like 2 years or so within a program. I mean, he wasn't going to take long to be noticed, basically, because he had that flashiness. Has he been able to really show that in practice and really impress the coaches so he can possibly get more and more chances going forward here, even though he's young?
Absolutely, yeah. We hear about him all the time. Man, that's one of those guys. I think Jimbo Fisher made a pretty big priority, during the recruiting process. Of course, he makes them all a priority, but that was one he really wanted. That maybe wasn't ranked as high as some others out there, at least nationally. But my goodness, that was a guy that he wanted for those reasons, and he's like I said, he's come ready to go and has shown a lot. From that dynamic. When the ball's in his hands, you can't touch him. He's just hard to get a handle on. Whether it's that straight line speed or that quickness, he can bring it.
All right, 151 people joining us, 27 minutes live. We got Jason Howell, representing the Texas Ags content. I mean, we have an outstanding guest. Jason is probably going to give you the best insight you can on Texas A&M football. Jason, where can the good people find you for those tuning in right now?
I'm most active on Twitter, Jason_Howell, and between there and TexAgs, just all over the boards, and we have a number of content items. On the weekends during the week, I'm out and about, talking to prospects and seeing high school games and talking about who's coming up. So always good times.
Jason, we greatly appreciate your time so far spent with us tonight. Going into this game, what are going to be some X factors for Texas A&M to win this football game? What's the recipe for success?
Well, you got to get those big guys up front moving a little bit. Yeah, like I think we touched on the quarterback play. You'd like to see something a little bit there, but if you can get Devon Achane and Anaya Smith going, you get the vertical passing game hitting a little bit. They've been close a few times and just haven't quite connected. So you get that offense moving. It makes things easier for the defense, and maybe they're not so tired for spending most of the game on the field, and that defense plays with a little bit more energy and consistency as well. So I think those are some things to watch there from A&M.
This is such an interesting game for me, Jason. I mean, Texas A&M coming off of a loss from App State. They're hungry. They know they got to win this football game. There's a lot of pressure on the line. Miami's in year one with Mario Cristobal going into game 3. I feel like their identity, I don't know what we're good at. I honestly don't know what we're bad at. We're facing an SEC opponent on the road. There's so much at stake here, and I honestly feel like I've reiterated several times, if Miami loses, they're going to hear a lot of it, throughout the regular season from the rivals. So it's really, I honestly just don't know what's going to happen come Saturday night. And that's the reason why I love college football so much. It's just expect the unexpected.
Yeah, and I kind of tend to lean towards. I think it's going to be a close game. I think both teams are going to come to play. I would think Miami's used to a big game atmosphere, and I'm going to just say it. Kyle Field on night game. It's going to be packed. It's going to be rowdy, and if A&M gets a bit of momentum, it could get. It's going to be a ruckus scene. So, they're going to have to be ready to stand up. They're going to have their hand signals down and figuring all that stuff out. But that 12th man can be pretty active there for A&M, and but I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun game for both teams, and probably a little closer than each program would like.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. I think the spread I've seen 6.5 favoring Texas A&M. I think it's going to be a toss-up. I think this game's going to go down to the wire. I would be surprised if one team just blows out the other. Believe it or not, Jason, the last two times Miami has faced Texas A&M, they have won.
I was on the sideline at one of those games.
Everything does come in threes, so I'm hoping that prophecy does happen come Saturday night. I mean, Ross, anything else we didn't touch up on with our outstanding guest, Jason, for tonight that you want to ask him? There's just so much pressure around this game in Miami, in my opinion, in Texas A&M. I think it's going to be a shootout.
Like I said, man, being a recruiting guy and stuff, I like to dig in and hear what you got to say about some of these guys you got. And there was a player that you guys picked up that really impressed me, and I'm curious about how you feel about Ish Harris and his upside.
Well, he definitely came in, ready to, I think in January. He was, one of the lower rated guys in the class, a guy that I got to see fairly often. I live up here in the DFW area, and he's right down the road. So from a smaller school, played more safety and running back than he did linebacker. So he's going to bring a lot of athleticism to the table there at linebacker, and I don't know if I wouldn't expect him to see a whole lot of action on Saturday, but he's a guy that has done well, turned a lot of heads in practices, and you're hearing a lot of buzz about what his future looks like. He brings that ability to cover, a lot of athleticism, range there, and a natural ability, natural ball skills when it comes to linebacker.
And I got one more player here, and I'm kind of just curious of how it happened. This is not a big name player or anything like that. And correct his last name for me if I'm Mark Nabu.
Naboo? Yeah.
Naboo. Okay. He's out of O'Dea High School in Seattle. I'm a Northwest guy myself. I grew up about 20 minutes from O'Dea. How did you guys make your way up to the Northwest? What was the tie up there, that made this happen?
Now, A&M has some analysts, and one of them happened to be pretty respected from the Washington area and had some connections. And, they had several guys. Jaden Wayne was part of the group that came down, and Mark was with them. And he was committed to Washington at the time. Yeah. And Josh Henson, who's now the offensive coordinator at USC, they just fell in love with him. He was the offensive line coach, and fell in love with what Mark brought to the table. Thought he could play, offensive guard or tackle. He played a lot of tackle there at O'Dea, and he's a guy that. He's still young, but I expect to hear his name quite a bit over the next few years. He's a guy that's going to make his presence felt on the two deep and in short order. And, he was a guy that it wasn't as talked about nationally, but he definitely was a high priority.
Yeah, when I saw his film, I definitely saw he was underrated, and that was definitely a nice pickup by you guys. That's good scouting right there.
He's just nasty. It's kind of like that. They just picked up well, they've got Chase Basantis out of New Jersey, and TJ Shanahan, who I'm sure you guys are very familiar with down there in Florida.
Plays mean too.
Those are some of the meanest, nastiest dudes you'll find. Play to the echo of the whistle kind of guys, and that's what they're trying to do with Steve Adazio, who has a little history there with the Gators and in the state of Florida as well. They're trying to bring that mentality they had there with Urban's Gator offensive front to A&M.
Oh, Paul, that's all I got for our host, man. Our guest, for Jason. Our host.
All right, Jason. The Miami Hurricanes head to College Station Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll take on the Texas A&M Aggies. Who you got?
I'm gonna call A&M, and I'll say I think it's a close one. I think they find a bit more offense, and I think they pull it out. I'll say 28-24.
28-24 Aggies. Ross?
I got Canes 30-23.
I have Miami winning this football game 31-28. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think the difference maker is I just honestly, my honest opinion, this game is a toss up. I don't like your quarterbacks. That's not my perspective as a Miami fan, just as a football fan.
Yeah, I got you.
Moving forward, that's going to bite Texas A&M in the butt. I
And
think
y'all got a pretty good one over there too.
Van Dyke. I think Van Dyke's
It's not bad.
kicks off, and I think Miami runs the ball heavy with Henry Parrish Jr. and Thad Franklin because Parrish came from the SEC and Ole Miss. He's a very good running back, and I think he takes the game over. And I think our D line applies pressure and makes a big play at the end. 31-28 Canes. Jason, thank you so much for coming on, man. We really greatly appreciate your time tonight. Wish you the best of luck Saturday night. And once again, where can the good people find you?
Absolutely, Ed. At Jason_Howell, look for the blue check mark. All right.
Thank you again for everyone tuning in. Please hit the like button, hit subscribe on your way out, and always all about the U. Go Canes. Thank you again, Jason.
Thank you.